Afternoon all. Okay, there was an absolutely fascinating position in one of my Blitz games earlier. In fact, the only 5-minute game I played today. And I was on the verge of being slaughtered. I played H6 expecting, unfortunately, to be slaughtered because I had actually missed that even Rook E5 was not working. Because the opponent had just played Queen H5, which not only attacks H7 but also protects E5. So my planned defence was actually revolving around Rook E5 to this bishop takes H6. So the king is facing the firing squad here. And you can look at the principle of the weakness of the last move and try and dispel the emotional turmoil of the king facing the firing squad on the H file here. Because the weakness of the last move dictates, you look at the plus of that move, ripping apart the king, threatening bishop takes G7, mating on H7 and H8. That's all an emotional cloud, and you're going to get this in your games for sure. You're going to be impressed by the brilliance of the opponent's last move, but under a ruthless examination of the plus and minus, imagine a rectangle of this move with a plus being all the positive aspects and all the brilliance associated with the opponent's move. And if the opponent's optimistic, they'll be making lots and lots of these moves. But remember, sometimes we need to make sure our back row is opened up. We need to make space for our king. Well, here it's not like the back row is fundamentally weak. It's protected by this rook, isn't it? The problem with this move, the minus of it, it was protecting E1. And it seems, fortunately, that this queen on A5 is kind of double attacking E1 and A2. And this is an absolutely accidental counter-attack brilliance, it seems. I thought someone had immediately refuted it. I went to the cafe and bother chatting about things. Actually, I bore him as well with weakness of the last move, and he thinks that I might be onto a sort of checklist principle here, that even if you're aware of the concept of the weakness of the last move, if you actually formally sort of make a rectangle or a shape and put a plus and minus in your head, doesn't matter what's going on emotionally or what pressure you're on, you've created a template. He was going on to me about a template that you can rely on under extreme pressure. And here it's extreme emotional pressure that my king is going to be slaughtered on this H file. That seems evident from bishop takes H6. But under this principle, we might be able to catch these moves, which are sort of at the last minute defences, or rather last move based defences that you wouldn't have ever visualised beforehand. The bishop has left D2, E1's weakened. So what happens after B3? Now, I thought someone had just totally refuted it with A takes B3. And then you see Queen takes E1, I think is losing here. Queen takes E1, or would be drawing apparently. Queen takes E1 is a draw apparently. Bishop goes back, slaughter time again, firing squad for the king. But maybe apparently F6 here, and this might be a draw. But black can do better than this. Okay, so white can force a draw by perpetual, fine. But black can do better here, which I find the real shock that actually, blimey, checking when this is an engine now, just black plays here, he leaves the threat, he or she can leave the threat on E1 or me. I can play G takes H6 here, G takes H6, and still, the rook isn't able to immediately mate with the queen, the king. They have to take on H6. So black's winning this. There's no return of the bishop to C1 here. Black's winning this. So actually it seems B3 is a remarkable resource which stands the scrutiny of engine analysis here. Whatever the way it's captured. I mean, what should we do here? Bishop D2, someone mentioned, and I could refute that offhand with check and Queen A1 mating. But it was just this AB3 idea or C takes B3 idea. On either, A takes B3, you just play G takes H6. C takes B3, again, you just play G takes H6. You don't allow this bishop C1. Here, allowing the bishop C1, somehow, this isn't a perpetual check in this position. I don't know why. immediately. Check. Why isn't there a perpetual check? Check. Apparently there's G6. And okay, black would still be better there, but even better is the old G takes H6 here. Just G takes H6, leaving the rook hanging. White needs a move to break through the attack here. If he plays Queen takes H6 here, check. I think the rook can now use the C file, can't it? If the king moved here, we can get to the white king. I think there's also a bot with it game, last minute defense and a dragon. It looked as though it was being slaughtered by someone. And he sort of came out of it with, sometimes there's amazing resources in chess, and it seems this is an accidental stumble in a 5-minute game on one where otherwise I was being slaughtered. So it seems b3 stands up to the test of depth 16, depth 17. It seems black's better with this analysis here. You just play G takes H6. If bishop takes G7, queen takes E1. If the rook moves, you just play, okay, check is incisive. Even here, now this is interesting. We haven't examined this, so not a check on A1. It seems maybe G takes H6 is strong, or B takes C2 is even stronger. So what's going here? B takes C2 in this position is actually threatening. Queen takes B2 and C1 discover check and double check. So for example, bishop takes, queen takes, king moves, and now we've got C1 double check. And that's going to be a mate in 2, isn't it? So this is remarkable, and this is what we call a razor sharp position, I think, in the Sicilian. And a lot of the time, the live commentary games in the Sicilian are often strategically far less instructive than, say, French defence games, because it really depends on these, direct access route attacks. Like White created a direct access route attack with his rook, and timing. Black sort of accidentally plays queen. It does remind me of a famous Fischer against Larsen game where Larsen won through this seemingly miraculous and annoying queen he had placed seemingly accidentally on B7, and there was something against the white king. There's a classic game on the channel if you want to look that up. But it seems amazingly that this might be a blunder, this bishop takes H6. If we rationalise it, objectify this, and ruthlessly look at the weakness of the last move, this really helps black, this B3. I hope you found that interesting. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.